Welcome to the GCN Tech Clinic, where we aim to answer your bike, tech and maintenance-related questions. As ever, you can submit your questions down below in the comments section using the hashtag AskGCNTech, and we'll do our best to answer as many of them as possible within the allotted time. Si, who's this week's first question?
Right, the first question this week comes from Tom Owen, who says, I'm often adding and removing bottle cages. I might be doing a short race with an aero bottle, or I might be doing a long sportif with more kit, and I often find the heads of aluminium bolts strip. So I want to use something stronger, but I'm also worried about galvanic corrosion. What material would you recommend? Well, there's a couple of things going on here. You don't need to worry about galvanic corrosion if you are constantly removing your bottle cages, because it won't have time to get them stuck. Also, you just cover with a bit of anti-seize, copper slip. If you've got titanium bolts, that could be pretty good. What material bolts do you have, Ollie?
Usually what comes with the bike, and then don't change them. There are people, I am doing a weight weenie kind of build at the moment, and I am maybe swapping out some bolts for some titanium ones that you can get like aftermarket as a fancy sort of weight weenie exercise. But I would say it's not an essential thing and probably not a very cost-effective thing to do.
No.
But I think what I would say is if you're stripping the bolts on your bottle cages, you shouldn't be doing that. And it means that two things are happening. You're either using Allen keys or Torx keys, like your tool is not very good. Low quality tools have like poor tolerances, which will strip bolts. So some good ones, good Allen keys are like something every cyclist should invest in my opinion.
100%. Yeah.
And the other thing is it sounds like you might be stronger than you think, and you're applying too much torque onto those bolts. Bottle cage bolts typically are, sort of 2 to 3 Newton meters. It's not much at all. So check that you're not over torquing them, because that will strip them as well.
Yeah, and actually a thread lock would
Yeah.
be good as well, to stop them rattling loose.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully that's answered your question.
Yeah.
I think it probably has.
Next question is from Joe F2932, who says, I have tubeless on my gravel bike. I use a tool at home to break the bead on the tyre. I'm concerned that if I get a puncture on a ride that can't be plugged, I won't be able to get the tyre off the bead and install the tube. Is there anything I can do to make this easier? Thanks.
I'm slightly confused about this, because in my experience, long experience of using tubeless on various different types of things, I don't have a problem breaking the bead. You just get your thumbs involved when the tyre is flat and just pop it straight off.
Super strong, I think.
But that's what's weird, isn't it? Because I don't look super strong, but maybe I am.
So where I've noticed this, right, like since tubeless tyres have really improved and they've brought in I can never remember the exact letters, but it's like the ERTO, TRTO, yeah, that. And they all have these really strong beads on, which are great at holding air and keeping it airtight and safety and all that. But they are really like noticeably harder to get on and off, I found. Yeah, I'm like a T-Rex.
Yeah, weird.
And when I've used the tube type new Pirelli tyre that's come out, they do the inner tube specific one, that's so much easier.
Yeah, okay. Well, I would get both your thumbs in the same place. So you grab the tyre and then push really hard. Actually, we've got a wheel over there, haven't we? This is turning into a practical demonstration. There you go. So you just got to go like that, haven't you? Push both your hands in the same place and just pop it off. Obviously, this one is flat, so it's easy. But yeah, just that action. And by pushing both your thumbs at the same place at the same time, you can get any tyre off. Yeah,
and I think the other thing is, like people often make the mistake of making sure that the bead is not in the inner channel all the way around. That inner channel's like really important. So you've got to make sure the whole bead's on the inner channel before you then start trying to, get it on.
100% that as well.
Yeah. Right, next question.
This one is from Tokyo Bert. I have a carbon gravel bike, an Ultegra C, with GRX 1x11 and Hunt all-season wheels. I spend 50% of my time on the South Downs, which is off-road, here in the UK, and 50% doing road rides with my mates. With the right tyres, the bike's doing great at both, but I could always do with more speed and less weight to help me keep up on the road rides. Question is, if I keep the Hunt wheels with knobbly tyres on for gravel, would I be better spending £1,500 on a dedicated road bike, or £1,500 on a very spangly new set of wheels with road tyres and going with the one bike does it all?
Well, right. So weight, people always overstate the importance of weight in their heads. Like cyclists have been doing this since the beginning of time and they still continue to do it. But in real terms, when you actually start to calculate how much difference the weight difference makes, especially the weight difference between, say, a £1,500 road bike and what you currently have, it's not that much. It might feel like a lot in your head, but it's not that much. In terms of bang for buck performance, a dedicated set of aero wheels going into your existing bike is going to give more bang for buck performance. And the biggest thing, as we always say, tyres.
Yeah. You're not wrong. I was just thinking then, there's part of me that goes there's something really nice about having a dedicated bike that you can use for gravel and then a bike that always is a little bit cleaner. Do you know what I mean? And basically, I think you can't go wrong with either.
Yeah.
Really, it's whatever your heart desires. If you fancy a super bling set of road wheels, then your gravel bike is going to be amazing on the road. And as I said, basically as fast, if not faster, than what you would otherwise buy. But if there's part of you that goes, you know what, having a clean bike that I can always just roll out on with my mates, then that's totally cool too.
I think plus as well, when we've seen, if you're looking at a budget of 1,500, what you can get used for 1,500 is often amazing.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. You'll be rocking around on a Pinarello, my friend. Right then, next up
is from F. Knopf, who says, salutations, tech aficionados. On my Ultegra Di2, most of the gears run smoothly, but one in the middle is noisy.
Ooh.
Oh, and what can be the issue? The cassette is brand new. It's 1134, replaced the old 1128. I've done my best to set up the gears based on GCN Tech videos, so it should be perfect. I think I know the answer, but I want to hear what you say.
I don't know what the answer is. I'd just go back to square one and try indexing them again.
I reckon it's a bent mech hanger.
Could well be.
That is typically when you've indexed your gears perfectly and every gear is working, apart from there's one skipping, most of the time that is a bent mech hanger. So a lot of people don't have a mech hanger straightening tool, which can also be used to check if the mech hanger is bent. However, all bike shops will have them. And they
you can be forgiven for not having a mech hanger straightening tool, can't you?
Yeah. Just be aware that, so I'm pretty confident that's the most likely scenario. Something else that could be done is, you say you've changed your cassette. I have seen people in the past who've installed a brand new cassette and they've put on one of the sprockets in the wrong order, or they've put one of the sprockets on the wrong way, or something like that in the middle of the block. So check that you've not done that, as people do sometimes do that. But just
can't put them on the wrong way around.
No, but I think sometimes when people are changing a cassette, they get the sprockets off, and then maybe there's a 17 tooth off an 1128 and a 17 tooth off a 1132, and then they get them mixed up. But actually the ramping and the hyperglide is tuned specifically for that cassette, so they're not interchangeable. And so
imagine being sat there with a pile of sprockets and not knowing which cassette they came from.
Well, they are written on them in tiny writing, so you can find it. But yeah, I think it's a bent mech hanger. Just be aware that a shop can straighten a bent mech hanger for you, but generally once a hanger has been bent, you should probably get a spare one and have a replacement.
It'll set you back about £15, euros or dollars.
Yeah.
So it's not the end of the world. Right then, next one, we've got Thermal Junkie. I'm new to using a power meter. I've got Asioma MX1s, but how to work with the data? They're referencing data parameters like normalized power, intensity factor, training stress score, ACL, TCL. Could you please explain these parameters and how they're used? I think you can forget basically all of them.
Well, it depends. Depends on how much you want to analyse your rides and your training and how much you want to do that. A lot of those are really useful coaching tools. But yeah, the most important thing is, using power to sort of pace your effort is what I think where most people find it useful. So knowing what you're capable of, just going out there, learning over what you're capable of over what duration, and then, using it as a pacing tool, I think is the most useful thing for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, like getting started with a power meter, we've got videos actually on the subject over on GCN that'd be worth checking out. But yeah, so you can forget about all of that acronym stuff. You need to know, like I say, what you're capable of. So you go and do some kind of baseline tests so you can see what you can do. And then you have to work out what training you're going to do. So your power meter in and of itself is not going to make you better. You have to use the data that the power meter is giving you in real time to then tailor your rides. So whether that is by pacing or whether it's hitting certain targets for certain durations. And it does take a little while to get used to, because to begin with, the numbers just jump about all over the place. So you do end up then starting to change how you ride with it. And actually, increasingly, the best thing to analyse your rides and the simplest thing is just time in zones, isn't it? So it's like, okay, well, what does this ride look like? The normalised power might say 250 watts, but if actually you've spent 20 minutes in zone 6 and 7, and then the rest of the time in zone 0, then actually your normalised power is not really going to be telling you anything useful. And actually, neither is your TSS and your intensity factor either, because they're not very good at dealing with that kind of stuff either, are they?
Yeah. There's a lot. There's kind of a lot to it, more than what we can sort of answer here. So, fortunately, we have done videos, as Si says.
It's something we could look at again for sure, because things do change, don't they? So but go and check out that vid over on GCN, I reckon.
And the last question that we've got time for this week is from Fog Rider 4607. I'm considering making slight changes to my bike fit for specific riding situations. I'm very happy with my current endurance fit for my regular weekly group rides that are typically around 19 to 20 miles an hour, several times a week. Occasionally, I like to go with faster groups over 21 miles an hour. Naturally, it's more challenging for me to keep up with the faster group. So could it be more beneficial for me to change my fit to a more power-orientated position than my standard endurance fit? My thoughts are raising the seat by a bit and removing some spacers and to lower the bars. And then I can easily change it back afterwards. Is changing the fit for specific situations a feasible idea? And if so, am I going in the right direction? What about saddle fore and aft?
Well, it's a funny one, this one, because I would not normally think of changing the fit on my road bike, no matter what I was going to do with it. But equally, the fit on my gravel bike is slightly different to the fit on my road bike, and the fit on my mountain bike is different to both of those two as well. So actually, to a certain extent, knock yourself out. But I wouldn't. It sounds like a bit of a pain in the bum for not a massive amount of gain. Yeah,
I would be more inclined to change your position. If you wanted to improve your aero position, I'm not necessarily going to be changing the saddle height. Saddle height kind of should be, the saddle height is the saddle height. And obviously that changes if you move your saddle forwards and backwards, but I would try and get a correct saddle height, as that is really important, and that sort of isn't going to change as much. And then you can start looking at making the front end lower and longer, and that'll help you get more aero. But I would do that you could have that position on your endurance rides and use that to train being able to put the power out in a slightly more aggressive position. You don't have to go as fast, you're on your slower ride, but then that'll help you when you do the faster ride. Rather than swapping it back each time, which would also be a bit of a faff. I think, I just lost my thing there. I've lost my train of thought. I know what I was going to say.
Okay.
I think the other thing, though, is specific situations. When you asked that question, to my mind, I was thinking, perhaps, yes, if you were going to be doing an event where it was, loads and loads of climbing, then maybe you might want to, or a really long endurance event, then maybe you might want a more relaxed position. Maybe how you sit on the bike when it's at an angle and you're climbing, that does alter. So maybe you do change things around for that. But
the other thing to mention is that the amounts that you're talking about, millimeters here, when all is said and done, make virtually no difference, do they? Some people can get hung up on the millimeters of things when it comes to bike fit, but in real terms, it will make zero difference.
Yeah. I think for the faff that's going to be changing it in week out and week in and week out, no, I'd say that you're better off just focusing on trying to hold your body in a more aero position.
Yeah, and because when you think about how much you will shuffle on your saddle, forwards or backwards in any one ride, when you get into the aero position, when you're on the front of your group going fast, like, you know, you're talking centimetres of shuffling as opposed to millimetres. So yeah, your body will naturally absorb all of those changes and it will make absolutely no difference at all to your performance. Basically.
What I said.
Yeah.
Right. Unfortunately, that's all we've got time for this week. So apologies if we've not got round to your question, but keep them coming, be persistent, and hopefully we'll get round to it in a future episode. We're going to go now. Love you. Bye.